Hello, I'm David Hunt. My next guest he's an American boy living in Melbourne, now shaking his head already, Justin Porter. Get this, comedian, actor, writer, director, editor, visual effects industry. He has worked on films like Black Panther, The Avengers, Thor, Mary Poppins Return. Oh my God.
They're just credits, David. They're just credits. It's no big deal.
All right, let's start from the beginning. You're an American.
Yes.
Where did you grow up?
Grew up in Texas.
Yeah.
I was born in Ohio. My dad was in the military, moved around a little bit, but grew up in Texas,
Right.
San Antonio.
Okay. What was that like?
Well, it's pretty normal. I don't know. When you're a kid, you never think anything about the way that you're growing up.
Yeah, but was it fun? Did you
Yeah,
have
it was super fun. I
Yeah.
loved it.
Okay.
Yeah, lived in suburbia, just, couldn't ask for anything. It was a good time.
There was a little bits of you that you've thrown at me over the time that I've known you. Were you a cheerleader or?
Not known. That came later.
Oh,
That was more in college. But I did gymnastics when I was growing up.
Okay.
So I was always into sports, even though I don't do any sports now. But
Right.
Well,
most kids do.
Yeah. Always like dabble. I dabbled in a lot of sports, but I found gymnastics when I was young.
Right.
And I loved that.
And okay, you went off to college. Cheerleader.
I did cheerleading, yes.
Why and how much fun?
It was a lot of fun, but it was actually really interesting because our school didn't have. I went to USC, and our school didn't have a cheerleading team, which most colleges had, like the cheerleading, doing backflips and doing gymnastics,
and
throwing
yeah.
all that kind of stuff. And USC was one of the schools that specifically didn't have one of those teams. I don't know.
They didn't want to be that gay?
Yeah, I don't know. They were just like, oh, we have our yell leaders. So they had this separate group of girl dancers that did dances, but they didn't do any tumbling or gymnastics. And then
they
had
just
these
waved the pom-poms.
Yeah, and did dances.
And
that's
big-breasted and.
Sure. Yeah. I wouldn't have noticed. And then they had a guy team that was yell leaders. But they didn't have anyone doing flips and all the gymnastic tricks and stuff. And then while I was there, someone started it, and they were looking for people with gymnastics experience. And I was like, well, great.
Yep.
I know how to tumble, and I like doing it. So I did it.
And how long did you do that for?
Just 2 years.
Right. And was it good fun though?
Yeah, it was.
Were
super
you
fun.
picked on?
No.
Was it no?
No. It was.
Because
everyone
here
loved
in
it.
Australia, I reckon you would, if you were in a cheerleading thing, you'd get picked on.
The university experience is very different here than it is in the States.
Okay.
I feel in general.
Right.
Because I feel like in Australia you still live with your parents
yep.
still. It's uncommon to get shipped away to college and live on campus in a dorm and have that college experience where you go to frat parties and
Yep.
sorority houses and stuff like that.
And that was fun?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, college?
Yeah,
That's
it's
good.
great. You're still learning, but
Yeah.
you're having a
a
lot
of fun.
A lot
Yeah.
more partying than I think happens
Yeah.
here.
So you moved to LA.
Yes.
What to do? What?
To study film at USC.
Why film?
I just always wanted to do it. I think it was between that and computer science, because I was always really good at math and science, and programming just always interested me.
Yep.
But my passion was film, and so I just went for it. And it was the top film school in the country, so I just shot for the stars and got in.
And what did you want to achieve from it? And because film is such a hard world, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, when you're an 18-year-old idiot, you think, oh, I'm going to be a writer director.
My films.
I'm going to my films. By the time I'm 25, I'm going to have 5
I'll be
films
the
under my
king of the
belt. I'll be
world.
the king. Everyone will know me. I'm the next Steven Spielberg. That's everyone who walks through the doors. I'm the next Steven Spielberg. But the reality is very different. And then while I was there, I got into writing a lot more, and I also was introduced to performance and comedy.
So what brought you to Australia?
The company that I work at now, it's a visual effects company called Luma Pictures.
Yep.
So I started working there a few years after college, and just kind of rose up through, through different roles there, and then they decided to open an office in Melbourne.
Explain to people what you do, because like, it's one of those sort of areas that we know what it is, but we don't really understand it.
Yeah, so visual effects, it's all of the, well, it depends on what type of film it is, but it's anything computer generated that it gets added into a film. So creatures or background replacements, environments, sets, effects.
So a crowd of like a few thousand people.
Yep.
You create that.
Yep. Yeah, that
Yep.
would all be computer generated and
Yep.
then composited into a shot.
Wasn't it? You told me that you were working on Spider-Man, the last Spider-Man, and
Yeah.
you literally finished it working on it, and it opened a month later.
Yeah, we finished it. It finished really late, and then I think we delivered in, because I think it came out in July. I don't know, but yeah, we work on a lot of Marvel films, and we deliver shots very close to the deadline. But with digital, it doesn't matter because it's all digital. All the theaters receive just a download of the movie and play it, so they could finish the film the day before
Yep.
it is released,
Yep.
and just send it to the theaters the next day.
How, like, I'm in awe of that you do, and I'm not, and I don't even see.
I don't even do it. I just.
Oh, you run it all.
I just. I don't do it anymore. But up until last year, I was the production manager. So I did all the scheduling. I did kind of the resourcing and helped.
But you know how to do it.
But I know how it works. And
Yep.
I'm very fluent in the language.
And I don't even watch any of these films, but I'm so impressed that
I'm
like,
insulted. I'm
no,
personally
you're not, because you
offended.
know I don't watch those sort of films. But it's just one of those worlds that it's just so fascinating.
It is, yeah. And until I actually worked in it, I had no idea how it worked. I actually never considered going into visual effects or working in visual effects, and it just kind of knocked at my door randomly, which is another weird story. But when I started, I had no idea how anything worked. It was
Yep.
all magic to me, and then over the years kind of learned how to do it. And it's really fascinating, and it's always changing. So every project is always new. We just, on Spider-Man Far From Home, which we just worked on, that was a whole new challenge of
having to learn the new technology.
Yeah.
It would be changing all the time, that
all
sort
the
of
time,
technology.
constantly.
Which would be exciting for somebody like you, a nerd like you. It would be
Yeah,
exciting.
thank you. Yeah, no, it's really exciting, and because you're always there's tech conferences specifically for visual effects and the tech that's being developed and coming out for visual effects. A lot of computer technology is actually developed specifically for new visual effects.
Avatar
advancements.
in particular, he waited until that technology
Yeah,
came
exactly.
along, didn't he?
Yeah.
All right, so here you are in Australia, and how long have you been here?
Just under 7 years.
7 years, a fair while. Like you've really obviously settled in. You've got
I think
a partner.
so. I consider it my home.
But there's another side of you, comedy.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
The job that I was working at before Luma, I was editing reels for actors, and this girl came in, and one of the things that I was editing was this prank show that she was on, where they basically prank a bride, and they make it seem like her wedding day is a disaster, like everything that could go wrong is going wrong.
Is it real or is it made up?
No. It's all pranked.
Oh, okay.
So they're targeting this bride. But anyway, one of the girls that was in it, she's an improviser. And so I was asking her about it. I was like, how did you get cast for this? This would be so weird, like, because there's no script. And she's like, oh yeah, it's improvised. You should actually do improv. Like, I think you would be really good at it. And I was like, oh, okay. And then I was like, yeah, why not? Let's do it. And so I actually went and took classes at this place called IO West in Los Angeles and loved it. I was terrible at first, but I loved it and I got better. And then started performing on teams in LA, and then came over here, and now I do improv all the time. I have a monthly show that I do called Beautiful Humans every month at Improv Conspiracy.
Yeah.
And then I write and film sketches that we put online.
And you're actually doing a series now, aren't you? A series of filming that you haven't released any of it yet.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So we're doing a lot of sketches that I've written over the years, and also sketches that friends of mine have written. I'm kind of producing those and making them so that they can actually be available online.
I find it really fascinating because, all of a sudden you pick up that class and then you've got to tell a story about that class. I would have this moment of not knowing how do you train your brain to keep a story going and make it more ridiculous and funny as you go along?
I mean, it's just you just practice it. You just
so there is something you can do.
Absolutely. I mean, like I said, I was terrible when I started because improv's actually got a bad rap because there's this idea of what improv is where it's just like a bunch of people like saying, just getting on stage and being idiots and like trying to be funny. And the real improv, when you're doing really actually good improv and practicing improv, you forget about trying to be funny. It's about trying to actually be real in the moment and actually create the world that you are making up on the spot.
Yeah.
And committing to that world. So it's actually a lot closer to acting than a lot of people give it credit for, because you're saying this is a really hot teapot and I'm picking it up and getting burned by it, and I have to, for the whole scene, believe that this is a hot teapot that is burning me, or that this is my uncle who's now a witch. However ridiculous it is, as long as you believe it and you play it real, then that's kind of where the magic comes in.
Do you often get like a block where you think, so I can't work out where to go next, there's somebody else that's talking?
No, not
Awesome.
anymore. I used to.
Yeah.
But that's because I'd be worried about like what does the audience want me to do?
Yep.
And when you just get rid of that and you just kind of think, what would my character do next? What do I want to do next?
Yep.
Then I just do whatever I want.
I've also got to ask you about, you were doing a bit of podcasting. I don't think
Yes.
you do very much for that anymore, do you?
I've got a new podcast coming up, but it's not out yet.
So the one that you did, and when you first told me, I think you told me and then I forgot, and then you told me a second time, and it sunk in, and I thought it was one of the funniest things I'd ever heard. Tell people what you did as a podcast.
Are you talking about Cher Retweet? Yeah, so it was a podcast where every week we broke down Cher's Twitter feed.
Cher as in the singer?
The singer, yeah,
If
the
I could
Cher.
turn back time.
If I could turn back, do you believe?
And she is this mad...
She is crazy on Twitter. She has a Twitter account. She tweets on average 9 times a day.
Whoa.
She has millions of followers. People love her tweets, but also...
Are they crazy or funny?
There's her tweets, both. both. One of my favorite tweets is, there's no context for this tweet. The tweet is just, okay, just sent 100 desks. To whom? Why? Why is she sending 100 desks? Where are they going? Who needs these desks? Why is she telling Twitter? There's so many questions on that one tweet, and it's just, there's no answer.
Yeah.
You never get an answer.
Yeah.
And I don't think she even knows. Like there have been interviews with Cher where they look back and they show her tweets and they're like, what is this? And she's like, I don't know why. I don't know why I did. I don't know what that even means.
And you've also told me that she often tweets as she's walking on stage. Like she's taking...
Well, that's our theory. Our theory is that she's tweeting so much. There was a tweet that she literally tweeted while we were waiting for her to come on stage. We were at Cher.
Yeah.
And because we're doing the podcast at the time and just like, oh, she's probably tweeting, and then a tweet came up. And it was not 20 minutes before. Why isn't she like doing warm-ups or like sound check? Like surely there's something else.
She wouldn't do any of that. She doesn't sing anyway.
I'm Cher. She's just on backstage on Twitter. Like, right, you're on in 20, Cher. Yeah, okay, let me just update everyone. What is she doing? It's nuts. I love it.
Oh, yeah.
But that was really fun. That was a fun podcast.
And you were nominated for an award.
We were.
And everything, so.
Yeah, we got nominated for Best comedy podcast of 2018, and we were also named Best of 2018 on Apple Podcasts. So that was amazing.
So there's so many things, you know, apart from your day job, which is so fascinating and so demanding. I could imagine it'd be so demanding. That you know, like you've got so many lovely little things on the side, haven't you? Around comedy.
You have to. Well, I don't really, because I'm definitely a creative person, and I think a lot of people who only see me at work don't really know that about me.
I just loved it when we were talking about the Cher things, and you were getting so animated, and it was an animation I'd never seen from you before.
Oh, really?
As well, which was really
I'm like an onion. There's just layers and
so
layers.
many layers.
Yeah. Well, it's so Cher. She's I get really excited about things sometimes.
Good on you, Justin Porter. Thank you so much for
Thanks
talking
for having
to me
me
today. I'm David Hunt, and we'll talk to you real soon.